It's been a while since I've exclusively worked off of a notebook, almost 8 years in fact, and when the opportunity arose to review the new Dell XPS 13, I was hesitant at first to leave the comfort of my triple LCD i7 home PC setup. But that journey has brought me here, a review of the last notebook you may ever need.
Record and stream at 1080p and 60 FPS with AverMedia's ExtremeCap U3.
Now, full disclosure, I've never been a fan of Dell. In fact, working retail has given me a predisposed negative opinion of the company based on the fact that customers usually came in with broken Dells or customers on the phone asking where to find proprietary Dell RAM so they can upgrade their dying laptops. So, going into this review, I wasn't expecting to be wowed. That would change. So our contact at Dell sent us over an entire care package for the XPS 13. Everything arrived in this awesome box lined with foam, and inside we found a backpack with many zippers, a premium sleeve for the XPS, a power brick, portable power companion, a Dell 4-in-1 USB 3 travel adapter, and of course the Dell XPS 13. Now, it is important to note that the XPS 13 that you buy might not come with all these extra goodies. So, just a heads up. Let's start off with the specs of the model that we received. The XPS 13, as you might have guessed, has a 13-inch screen in an 11.9-inch body. The body actually measures 304 millimeters by 200 millimeters for those wondering, and it weighs in at 2.8 pounds for the touchscreen model. This one, speaking of touchscreen, has Dell's fancy ultra-sharp QHD Plus Infinity display, more on that later, and the CPU is an Intel Core i5 5200U, 8GB of DDR3 RAM, 256GB of storage, and Intel 5500 graphics. The machine-built aluminum exterior of the Dell XPS is simply gorgeous, and I truly mean that. In terms of the I/O on the Dell, we have the power in mini display port, one USB 3 port, headset in, and a button that when pressed tells you battery life. Moving past the indicator for battery, we have one of two side-firing speakers. On the right-hand side, we have another speaker, a full-size SD card reader, another USB 3 port, and a Kensington lock. Now, if you don't think this is enough ports for you, you can actually get yourself one of these handy-dandy travel adapters that plugs in to one of the USB ports and gives you an extra HDMI, VGA, Ethernet, and a USB 2 port. Now, on the inside, we have the IPS touch display, or the Infinity display as Dell calls it, with edge-to-edge Corning Gorilla Glass. It's only got a 5.2 millimeter bezel, and how Dell achieved this was to move the webcam from its normal standard top middle position down to the bottom left corner. Now, this may have seemed like a bit of a bizarre move on Dell's part, but the location works out taking selfies and having any sort of video conferencing calls, and it's well worth having a near borderless screen rather than having more depth added to the final product. On the keyboard side of things, we have a white backlit chiclet keyboard with a precision touchpad surrounded by a carbon fiber palm rest. Now, we all know I'm a sucker for carbon fiber. Onto the experience with the Dell XPS 13. I spent more than a week with the unit so far, but the first thing that impressed me other than the notebook itself was the included power adapter. Now, this tiny thing can take 3 different forms, and here's what I mean. The power adapter can either lay flat or stand straight. And what if this isn't long enough with the cable unraveled? Well, just detach this portion and attach the standard Mickey Mouse head plug in, and you have a traditional power adapter with wires coming out both ends. I mean, let's face it, if you bought a sexy notebook like this and it came with a giant traditional power brick, you'd be pretty miserable too. Speaking of power, my experience with battery life has been above average so far compared to other notebooks and Ultrabooks, with the Dell XPS lasting more than 5 hours with copious consumption of media, albeit that's far from the claimed 15 hours touted by Dell with Intel's wireless web benchmark. 5 hours isn't enough? Well, you can squeeze a bit more juice out of the XPS with the optional Dell Power Companion. This 12,000 milliamp hour power bank will provide your XPS 13 with more battery life and power other devices as well, like phones or tablets. I just find it redundant that you would actually need the XPS's power adapter to charge the power bank. Kind of defeats the whole purpose of needing the power bank if you have the charger. I mean, might as well use the charger instead of the power bank, but 12,000 milliamp hour. That's a lot. And it comes with different adapters for different Dells as well, so that's cool. The keyboard was probably the hardest thing to get used to on the Dell XPS 13. Maybe it's just been my years of use of mechanical keyboards, but typing felt weird at times, and there were a bunch of times where I just wanted to plug a mechanical keyboard just to write this review. But the one upside to the keyboard that it is backlit, making it a whole lot easier to work in the dark. Still, the keyboard I feel is the biggest letdown of the XPS 13. Watching content on the XPS is quite a delight with the 3200 by 1800 resolution. No black bars on the top or bottom when watching YouTube videos. And that's all we really want, isn't it? No black bars? Anyways, now even though that sounds like an unusual perk, it definitely provides more immersive experience while consuming media. But with that being said, our unit did have some minor backlight bleeding on the bottom half of the left and right sides, which does take away from the beauty of the almost bezel-less screen. The side-firing speakers are surprisingly loud for an Ultrabook of this size. I mean, to be fair, I wasn't expecting Dell to deliver on the audio side of things, which resulted in me being taken aback, so the speakers are good. So who is the Dell XPS 13 meant for? Honestly, with different price points and specs ranging from Core i3 to Core i7 level of performance, I definitely recommend it for anyone looking for portability and power without having to go over to the Apple side of things. What? I said it, okay? The Dell XPS 13 is definitely a contender for anyone looking to get a MacBook Air, but might want to stick with Windows and or not sell their soul for a Mac. That's just my opinion. All kidding aside, I've always had bad impressions of Dell products in general, and with the Dell XPS 13 shown off during the past CES, I was definitely intrigued to say the least. And when the opportunity arose to review the XPS, I had my doubts at first. It handled everything I threw at it, from writing the script to replying to emails and watching TV shows and watching movies. But this past week and a half spent with the XPS 13 has really got me to think. Will this be the last notebook you may ever need? I would think yes, until Dell decides to improve on the XPS by adding USB Type-C. Just saying. So that's it for this quickish review of the Dell XPS 13. If you're interested, there will be links down below for more information on the Dell. Leave a comment down below. What do you think of the XPS? Would you change anything about it? The exterior? The keyboard? Is it perfect and doesn't need to change? I want to hear from you. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this from NCIX. We'll see you later.